Today on Enjoy the Grind, we're here with a special guest. I have the privilege to meet and interview Billy Carroll. Bill is a four-time Stanley Cup winner. He played with not just one, but two dynasty teams, the New York Islanders and the Edmonton Oilers. Thank you for joining me on my show, Bill.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this.
Same. Okay, so let's start off talking a bit about your prior to playing in the NHL. When you were around my age, what was it about hockey that made you want to play?
Well, I grew up in a small town, and we had a river that ran through the town, so it was just what all of us guys that lived there did. We just played on the river all the time, and then when the river went, we played ball hockey and lacrosse, and just kind of one thing led to another.
When you were, how did you get selected to play for the London Knights of the OHL?
Yeah, they have what they call a draft into junior hockey in Ontario. So they draft players, to different teams around the province. And I was at a place called St. Mike's in Toronto playing junior B, and was fortunate to get drafted by London, and then go and play 3 years in London.
Nice. During your times with London, you played with Dino Ciccarelli, Rob Ramage, Brad Marsh, and a few others that went on to also have good careers in the NHL. What was it like playing with those guys?
Well, it was great playing with those guys, and they're all still good friends today. And it was a great way to spend your teenage years, and we had a lot of fun. It always helps when you're winning. We had good teams up there, so it always helps when you're winning.
You were drafted in the second round, 38th overall in the NHL draft to the New York Islanders. Do you remember where you were when you got the news you were drafted by the Islanders?
I remember exactly where I was. I was on the golf course playing golf, and I found out that I'd gotten drafted by the Islanders. And it was a lot different back in those days. You didn't have the big TV media that surrounds the draft today, and you kind of just hang around and wait for a phone call. And so I decided to go golfing and came home and found out.
Who were you golfing with?
I was golfing with three of my buddies that I ended up same guys that I played hockey on the river with all the time and still hang out with today. And a guy by the name of Wayne McDonald, Doug Turcotte, and Phil Deggerton.
Nice. Were you in talks with any other teams prior to the draft?
No, I wasn't even in contact with the Islanders at all. Back then, you just they went into the draft, and the first time you heard of anybody was after it was over. So you get letters in, and you fill letters out, and different things. But my agent was Bill Waters, and we was part of the Allen Eagleson firm back then, and they look after everything and talk to the teams and whatnot. But there was no camps or any of the type of testing that they do today.
Can you walk me through your first NHL camp?
Yeah, my first NHL camp, I got drafted by the Islanders and went down there, and was told immediately before even going on the ice that I was going to go down and go to Indianapolis and try and learn how to play defensive side of hockey, because everybody who gets drafted is pretty well always on the offensive side of things. So I went down there and was very fortunate to play for a guy by the name of Bert Marshall down there, and he taught us all a whole lot back then on the defensive side of things.
What was going through your mind when you got called up from Indianapolis Checkers to the New York Islanders?
Well, we were in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we were just in the airport leaving to come back to Indianapolis, and myself and a fellow by the name of Hector Marini got told we were going up for the weekend. So Hector and I packed enough clothes for the weekend, and we ended up staying. And we're very, very, very fortunate. Just the hockey's so close. There's so many good players, and we were both just very fortunate that it was our two names that were picked to go up, and then even more fortunate to stay.
Mike Bossy, Brian Troche, Dennis Potvin, and Billy Smith were legends. Can you tell me what it was like to share the dressing room, practice, and suit up beside these guys?
Well, the guys you mentioned are all Hall of Famers, and anytime that you can be around those type of people, you have to absorb and learn a lot. And um, I always tell people that getting drafted by New York, and then you go into the dressing room, and all of a sudden you see those type of guys, and Butch Goring and John Tonelli and Nystrom. Those guys there probably worked harder than your average guy did. So when your top end is working as hard as they are, you have no choice but to follow in and start working out with them. And it was just a great experience to be able to be around those guys day in and day out.
Can you describe your first NHL goal?
I can. It was in Calgary. And Calgary had just moved from Atlanta, and they were playing in the old Corral building at the fairgrounds for 1 year. And our goaltender in junior hockey was a guy by the name of Pat Riggin. And I was actually scored on Pat that night. So that was my first one.
Nice. You were labeled as an unreal penalty killer, relentless on the puck, and made it very hard for teams to set up on the power play. How was it changing your role from being a goal scorer with London Knights of the OHL and Indianapolis Checkers of the CHL to becoming an elite penalty killer?
Well, it was very easy for me to do, because if I wanted to play for the Islanders, that was really the only choice I had, was to go down and learn there and learn how to kill penalties and hopefully be successful at it. And we had a lot of good centers already there when I got drafted. Brian Troche was there, and Butch Goring and Wayne Merrick and Steve Tambellini, and then Brent Sutter came in, Pat LaFontaine. So to pick up a role and be able to be there was very exciting for me.
Do you have any tips for me to become a better penalty killer?
Well, I think when you're killing penalties, you have to try and work harder than the guys that are on the other side of the puck, because you're down one. But if you can try and just anticipate where the puck's going, so that you can try and be going in that direction beforehand, and make it difficult to get a shot on net. So in other words, you got to be in the shooting lane and be willing to block shots.
You won the Stanley Cup with the Islanders in 1981-82 and 1983. What was it like winning the cup and raising it over your head?
Well, when it's happening, it all happens so quick, because it's something that you've dreamed about your whole life, and then it's actually happening. So your adrenaline's flowing, and a lot of the stuff I didn't even remember, to be honest with you, until I saw videos of it afterwards. That's how quickly your mind's racing and things are going. So obviously, it was a big part of my life.
What did you do with the Stanley Cup on your days with the cup?
We used to get it for a half a day back then, and a guy by the name of Dwayne Sutter used to take it the other half of the day when I was in New York. And then in Edmonton, I didn't get it. I came back home to Toronto and didn't get it that summer. But Dwayne and I used to take it, and we'd both take it for a half a day, and then we would go to a restaurant for dinner with some people.
Nice. In 1984, there was sort of an expansion draft, and the Edmonton Oilers basically claimed you off waivers. Can you tell me a bit of what happened?
Well, they have a protected list where you're only allowed to protect so many guys. And with the role that I was in New York and the age of the team where they were going, I was left open on waivers, and I was just really, really, very, very lucky to get picked up by Edmonton and have the experience of playing with all those great guys.
What was it like coming from the New York Islanders to the Edmonton Oilers, one dynasty to the next?
Well, those two teams, we knew each other fairly well because we'd played each other in the finals a few times already at that point. And when I was in New York, we all knew that it was just a matter of time until Edmonton was going to win a whole bunch of cups because they just were so good and had so much talent. And then when I got out there and started playing with these guys every day, they were actually a whole lot better than I thought they were. They were really, really talented hockey team.
I'm a huge Oilers fan. Can you tell me a bit about playing with that 1984-85 team and all of those great players?
Well, I think in order to win anything at all, your best players have to be your best players every night. And on that team there was no question that, the Gretzkys and the Messiers and the Grant Fuhrs and Kevin Lowe's, those guys, every night they were our best players. And that was the big reason we won. And the other thing was they were all pretty well the same age, young guys growing up. And they just loved to play hockey and come to the rink. And it was just a real treat for me to be able to be around that.
The 1984-85 team was voted the greatest team of all time. You must be honored to be a part of this team.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw any of it. We went out and had a reunion out in Edmonton a couple of years back, and it was great to see all the guys. Even though you don't see each other for 20, 25 years, when you get together, it's like you were together yesterday. And had a really exceptional week out there with all the guys, and I'm really glad that the Oilers put that on for us.
Who did you play with on a line?
I played with a guy by the name of Dave Semenko and Willie Lindstrom. They used to call us Silly, Billy, and Willie.
Wasn't he like a really tough? Wasn't he tougher than people say?
Who's that, Semenko?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he was tougher than they say because they said he was the toughest in the league, and I'd have to agree. I didn't see anybody really fool around with him or come too close to doing anything with Dave when Dave was on the ice.
Who was the funniest guy on the team?
Oh, Willie Lindstrom was always pretty funny, but so was Dave Semenko. The two of them, they're always having fun and joking around. Those guys. And, I enjoyed both their companies a lot.
Do you have any funny stories of the boys from the Oilers that you could share?
Oh, geez, any funny stories? I don't know. Just the regular pranks that go on all the time in the dressing room. And I know that we used to have a ritual in New York where if somebody was late for practice, where they got caught in traffic, which happens in New York or something like that, we used to have a fine if you were late getting on the ice, say for 10:30 practice. So if it was 10 after 10 or 10 o'clock and someone wasn't there yet, then the guys used to cut their skate laces and take the strings out of all their equipment and stuff so that there was no way they were getting on the ice for 10:30. So we always had a good chuckle with that.
What was it like to play with such amazing coaches? Glenn Sather as head coach, Ted Green and John Muckler as assistants.
Well, I think the one thing that comes to mind is respect. All three of those guys having great careers in hockey and then going on to have the success they did on the coaching and general manager side of things. As players, we really respected all three of those men, and they didn't have an easy job either. They had a whole lot of superstars to coach there, and they did a great job.
Sorry to hear about John Muckler passing. He meant a lot to the hockey world.
Yeah, John is a legend in the hockey world, and he came all through the ranks in the old East Coast League and everything else in order to get to where he was in the NHL. And when you see a guy like that, or like Teddy Green, the two of them, respect is the one word that comes to mind.
Out of the 4 Stanley Cups that you won, which cup was the hardest fought battle?
Well, I think that in order to get to the Stanley Cup, you have a series along the way that probably are harder than the Stanley Cup final is sometimes. And in New York, we had to go to overtime with Pittsburgh in the final game in order to beat them, and that was in the first round of the playoffs. And in Edmonton, we kind of had our way there a little bit because of the way things went. So we had a really good series with Winnipeg, and it's just it's just a bounce here and a bounce there. It can go either way in order to win. And probably the hardest series we played in that I played in would have been the second cup that I was in New York. We played Edmonton in the semifinals, and it was a really good series. Went 6 games, and Edmonton. That was just when they were coming on, and it was a good series.
Can I see your 4 Stanley Cup rings by chance?
Yeah. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That was our 4th cup in New York.
Can you angle it a bit?
Hold on a second. Let me just put these here.
Yeah, this is on the floor here. I can't see. Is that any better?
There, can you see those?
Yeah.
Where? I don't know what he's saying. Can you see what he's
I don't know if you can see those.
What?
You got all 4 of them, and I can't see what you're seeing, so.
Yeah, I can see them. Those look really nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can you tell me what's on them?
Yeah, I'm going to have to put my glasses on. Hold on a second here. What happens when you get to be an old man like me? Okay, so this one here. That one has the New York Islander emblem, my name and number on the side. And it has 3 cups on the side. I don't know if you can see that, the 3 cups.
I can't see the ring.
Can you see
Can you see it now?
A bit down. Yeah, there. Wait, back up. Up. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So there on the side, it just says New York Islanders with your name and number. And then on that side has the 3 cups.
Nice.
In Edmonton, it has a neat thing on it. It's the same thing. It has the Oilers emblem and your name and number and stuff on the side. And
I
then
can't.
on the side, it's got the 2 Stanley Cups.
Nice.
And then this one here, same thing, your name and number on one side. And then a picture of all the cups together on the other side.
Nice.
And then this one, it's a little bit different color. It has your name and number on the side with the Islander emblem. And that just has a picture of the cup on the other side. So that's it.
Those are awesome. Those are really cool.
Well, thank you.
Which ring is your favorite?
Well, I don't wear any of them, so they're all 4 the same to me. So they're all, I think anytime you do something like that, they all bring back good memories. And the first one, obviously, is the one that brings back more excitement than anything, I would think, just because of being the first time on anything.
You finished your career off playing for the Detroit Red Wings. What was your time like playing for them?
Actually, it was actually pretty good. It was close to where my wife is from in London. So I was only an hour and a half down the road. So when we were on the road, she was able to go home, which was a nice feature once we had the kids, you know. And I think that getting an opportunity to play with Steve Yzerman when he was first coming in was a real treat because he was probably underrated as a hockey player. He was right up there with the best of them.
Do you still keep in touch with some of your old NHL teammates?
Not too much. Don't really pick up the phone and call anybody, but I do run into guys all the time and see them around. And when you do see them, it was like you were with them yesterday. They're bonds that will last forever.
Your nephew Boone Jenner is an assistant captain for Columbus Blue Jackets. Did you have a big influence on his career?
No, I was always coaching against him, trying to beat him, for crying out loud. Boone's dad and mom did a great job with Boone and introduced him and his two brothers to hockey at a young age. And all three boys were good hockey players. And Boone's very, very fortunate to be able to make a living and come out of Oshawa and go straight into Columbus. And he's having a very good career, and everybody's very proud of him.
I like the way that Boone plays. He's like a force out there.
He certainly is like a wrecking ball, isn't he?
Yeah.
He gives you 120% every night. And Boone grew up on a farm, and the work ethic got put into him by his dad at a very young age, and it has certainly served him very well.
Do you go to many Blue Jackets games?
Well, we were down last year, actually. Right around this time of year, we were down there. Went and stayed a few days, and we go when he comes to Toronto, obviously, and that's about it.
Is that who you cheer for, Blue Jackets?
No way. My wife cheers for Blue Jackets, and I cheer for the team that's going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Who's that?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Withers.
I already bought my parade ticket in Toronto.
So I have some fun questions to finish off the interview, which I like to ask all my guests.
Okay.
Out of the teams you played for, what team did you enjoy playing for the most?
I probably enjoyed my time in London playing for the London Knights the most out of anything in hockey. And I would have to say from a professional level, it was just different. It was different atmospheres on each team. And I would say that all of them were pretty special.
Do you still follow any of your old teams?
I follow the Islanders a little bit because a fellow that is from around our area, Josh Bailey, plays there. And then I followed Edmonton for a bit when Kajula was there because he's from Pickering as well. And so I follow more people that I know than actual teams.
Do you think hockey is better now or better during the time that you played?
I think the skill level is way better. I think it's a lot faster, but probably why I don't watch as much. I find that the games all look very similar, so I prefer watching the older games than I do with the new hockey.
If you could create an all-star lineup, 3 forwards, 2 defense, and 1 goalie, like you'd be playing now or in the past, who would it be?
Well, I think that you've got to go with Wayne Gretzky, don't you?
Yeah.
You got to throw Messier in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably got to throw Brian Trottier in there. And I would say Paul Coffey and Dennis Potvin. And for a goaltender, I probably would take Billy Smith.
Nice lineup.
No, I would hope so.
If you could steal any player's skill, what would it be and from who?
Well, Yari Curry, to me, the way he could shoot a puck and find a hole, that's a skill that you have to be born with. He was just phenomenal at that. It'd be nice to be able to shoot the puck like that, or like Mike Bossy. And for passing and seeing the ice, I mean, you've got guys like Wayne Gretzky and Yzerman. I mean, the way that they can see the ice and make everybody around them better is pretty special.
Who was the player that was the hardest to shut down on the power play?
Gretzky, without a doubt. He just had just so many options. He had eyes in the back of his head and just knew where everybody was all the time, and he made it very, very difficult to shut him down.
Do you have a favorite hockey memory that stands out to you?
I think probably winning the first cup, where it was and how we won it. We won that game, the fifth game. Bobby Bourne took a 5-minute spearing major in the first 5 minutes of the game, and we came out of the 5-minute major penalty kill up 3-0. So I think that game and the way everything worked out with being able to win a cup that night was probably my fondest memory.
What was the biggest goal you ever scored?
All of them. I don't know. The biggest goal was, that's a good question. I really don't know. I didn't get that many of them, so I should remember that. But I would have to say probably, if you're going to remember any of them, I remember the very first one I got against Pat Riggin.
Do you miss playing competitive hockey?
No, I don't miss playing at all. I got injured my third year and ended up playing the rest of the time with an injury that didn't allow me to practice much, or had a tough time skating 2 days in a row with it. So when it came time for hockey to end, I was pretty well ready for it.
So what are you up to in your life after hockey?
My brother and I have a company up here, and we've been doing it for 30 years. And we manufacture and install windows and doors and sunrooms and those types of things.
Nice.
Mm.
Did you watch the Super Bowl yesterday?
I certainly did. I didn't expect that outcome. What did you watch it?
Yeah. I was cheering for Bucks.
Were you?
Yeah.
You're a Brady fan, are you?
No.
No.
It's me and my dad we cheer for the Buccaneers.
Well, I'll tell you what, they looked real awful good. Their defense was awesome, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. They came to play. I didn't expect that outcome, though. I thought Mahomes would beat them.
Mahomes almost got some a couple highlight reel throws on, but
yeah,
just they kept on hitting the catches in the face.
Yeah, they had 3 of them hit the face mask.
Yeah.
So.
Lastly, do you have any advice that you could give myself or any other young players for our hockey careers?
Just make sure whatever you're doing, you're having fun with it. And that goes for working out and practice and games and everything else. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. And if you are, then do more of it. And hockey's one of those things that you in order to do well at it, you have to have fun at it.
Yeah, great advice. Well, it's not every day that I get to talk to someone that has won a Stanley Cup, let alone 4 Stanley Cups. This has been amazing to hear your old-time hockey stories. I want to thank you so much for taking this time with me on Enjoy the Grind. This was a lot of fun, and I'm very happy to have met you. Thanks again, Billy.
Well, thank you for having me on, and I wish you nothing but success in your own hockey, and especially in your interviews going forward. And you do a very good job at this. It's nice to see.
Thanks, and good luck and keep on doing the thing, the installing.
Yeah. Okay, I will.
And for those watching, please like and subscribe for more interviews. Thanks, Billy.
Thank you. Take care.